Good afternoon, everybody. How are you today? And welcome to the latest edition of Drew Media Live. Nice to have you with us for this Tuesday, the 28th day of May, the year 2019. And of course, this is yours truly, Andrew L. Perry. Thank you very much. As always, coming alive and at you from the busy streets, which is New York City, as I chat to you what is happening in the world of sports. Well, if you're in Brooklyn right now, it's really cloudy outside, as you could tell. Not much sunshine out there, but it is still, the weather's not bad. The weather's not bad right now. It's currently 70 degrees or something like. It's 70 degrees, right around there. As I chat to you what is happening in the world of sports. Well, we got a lot going on. We have a lot going on. We got the Yankees and the Mets to talk about. But before we get into the New York baseball and previews tonight's game, we have two. We'll start the show talking about the two deaths that the two stars, the two biggest stars. The biggest star in the NFL, as we know, as legendary Green Bay Packer quarterback Bart Starr passed away at the age of 69. Well, what can you say about him? What can you say about Bart Starr? If you know football. Even though you never watch him play, you know who Bart Starr is, and what type of he was. When you think about him, of course you think about the Ice Bowl. Not so much the first Super Bowl, but the Ice Bowl is what comes to mind when you think of Bart Starr and Vince Lombardi and the Green Bay Packers, the mystique of the Green Bay Packers, and an historic franchise, and he was an icon, the biggest icon in the history of the National Football League. And what can you say? You hear a lot from people that how much of a genuine, kind guy he was. Very, very soft spoken, very quiet. Live a quiet life, but when you look at you remember his stats. Look at his stats and his resume. It's damn impressive. It really is. He's 9-1. He's 9-1 all time in the postseason. And the years he won the title, he thrown 15 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. Where today, that's an impressive resume, but back in the 50s and the 60s, back in those days, it's unheard of. And yes, he's the first quarterback to ever win a Super Bowl, ever. Especially back to back. Win five Super Bowls. And I mentioned before the Ice Bowl. You can't forget about the Ice Bowl. We've seen it played 1,000,000 times. One is still to this day, believe it or not, the coldest game in the history of the National Football League. And no, I didn't know him personally, but you grew up when you wanted to be a quarterback of the National Football in general. I feel that Bart Starr is not the highly choice, but he's a competitor. He's a winner. He played with one of the winningest coach in the history of the sport, and there's nothing more need to be said. As it seemed like he was gonna live for a long time, and fortunately, starting Sunday, he will no longer be with us. As Bart Starr passed away at the age of 89. Another star who passed. Another another guy uh, wasn't a I wouldn't call us. I mean, he was a superstar. He was well known name, but he's famous for making a one big mistake. His name is Bill Buckner, who passed away yesterday at the age of 60, at the age of 69. Yeah, I got the names, I got the age wrong when it comes to Bart Starr and Bill Buckner. Bill Buckner is the one that passed away at the age of 69. So let's just throw that. I'm gonna throw that out there. But nevertheless, Bill Buckner he was a great player. Was a great player in his own right. He played for the Angels. He played for the Cubs, where he won a batting title in 1980. He had a batting average that year of 324. So that's impressive, He played for the Angels, the Blue Jays, the Red Sox, of course. He played, Boston forgave him after they won after the Boston Red Sox finally won their championship in 2004, and so to break the curse. And I hear stories that how they was rough on him, and the way how he handled the 1986. The way he handled the devastating loss, and we know and we heard stories how devastating that loss was at that time, and he handled it then more than any athlete could have handled it, and not a lot of people, and I feel not a lot of people would have handled it the way Bill Buckner handled it, and you know, it's really devastating. I think, in my opinion, that is more devastating more than what Steve Bartman did, which is another topic for another day. But nevertheless, Bill Buckner was a damn good player, and of course, he's a Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Fame first baseman. It's unfortunate if he's going to be remembered for that one era, which today he should be remembered as being one of the greatest players in the history of baseball. And Bill Buckner is no longer with us. So over the Memorial Weekend, we have two stars of their own right, Bart Starr and Bill Buckner, who no longer with us. And our condolences goes out to their family, go to the Buckner family, and go to the Starr family. Our condolences. But let's get started with the baseball. This is the baseball weekend. With the start off week. Let's start off with the Mets. Okay. Before I get into last night, the way they lost, let me just start off with the homestand that they just come off. They went 6-1. They went 6-1. The bats really came alive after beating after getting swept by the Miami Marlins, and I might be the only guy delusional to think that this would be the time they turn it around. I'm gonna still be optimistic about this team, but as of right now, honestly, do you really see them turning it around? The answer is no, because the more I think about it, and I hear one of my guys said it on the radio earlier today, that is the most unimpressive 6-1 homestand of all time. And you know what? They're right. The team like the Nationals, who have the worst bullpen in baseball, you should beat them every chance they get. So that's what it is. And the Tigers, let's face it, the Tigers stink. The fact that the Tigers get one win out of that homestand is really, really unbelievable. And really unbelievable. And you know what? Let's start off right off the top. The strength of this starting pitching for the Mets has not been out there this year. Jacob deGrom has been struggling, even though he battles. That's the thing I love about Jacob deGrom. He battles, but he's not the same pitcher when he got that Cy Young Award winner. And worst of all, he giving up home runs left and right. Same thing with Noah Syndergaard. Noah Syndergaard is not the strong. Noah Syndergaard has not, and I don't want to hear about. And you can make case he got blisters on his hands or whatever the case may be, but he has not been pitching well, especially this year. Well, you're the best player. The two best pitchers in that team have not been good. So is Zach Wheeler. Zach Wheeler. The only thing about Zach Wheeler, at least Zach Wheeler battled. But overall, I am not with this starting pitching. I'm not impressed. And the way they're pitching, why would you take them seriously now? Why would you take them seriously? And why would I think they're going to beat the Dodgers? They've been beating the Dodgers over 2 years, I think. The Dodgers are a way better team. They hit better than them. Even though the Dodgers bullpen is not good, they're still better than the Mets. The things that we was optimistic in going into spring training this year has not been happening. It's really had. Robinson Cano has not been the Robinson Cano that we thought he was. Edwin Diaz has been shaky, and the starting, and as I mentioned, I said this before, the starting pitching has not been good. They have been good, and in the results, let's face it, the Mets are not. I hate to say this, folks, the Mets are not a good team. They're just not. They're just not. And it took me last night to realize this team's not good. First of all, if you can't sweep the Miami Marlins, you're not a good team. That's all there is to it. Yes, it was a good homestand. It was a really good homestand. This is the homestand that they really to get back to 500, and Carlos Gomez hit a home run. I'll get to go. I have my thoughts on Carlos Gomez in a second. They beat up on the as I mentioned the Marlins bullpen, but when you're a good team, lousy teams you're supposed to beat up. And this is I can't be ungrateful to say, it was an impressive win. But one thing I did say, they finally win a home game. They finally take care of home at home. But let's see if it continues. Maybe it will turn around. But until otherwise, you can't really see it. But then again, you gotta start believing. But now let's get to last night. The Mets have so many opportunities too. The Mets, in my opinion, had blown this opportunity, and they had so many chances to win. The Dodgers bullpen was